Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making the second of our number boxes. I'm going to make each of the boxes the same size overall so that if you want to use two numbers in conjunction with each other, they'll be on the same scale. We'll start by making the template for the front and back panels. Your starting cardstock will be 4.5 times 7.5 inches. We're going to start by putting the marker lines in for the template. These are the pencil lines on my grid. Along the short edge, we're going to mark from top to bottom at 2.5 and 4. Rotate, and on the long side, we're going to mark from top to bottom at 1, 2.5 and 4. In addition, down the 2.5 inch line, so this line here, we're going to make a mark at 1 3/4 inches down. We're then going to create our number 4. These are the red lines. We'll mark from the 4-inch line down to the 2.5 inch, back to the outer edge of the card. At the 1-inch line, in from the edge of the card, across to the 4-inch line, down to the bottom. We're going to mark from the 2.5 inch line up to the 1-inch line and then across to the outer edge of the card, up to the 2.5 inch line, and then we're going to create our diagonal by joining up these two lines. For the centre section of the 4, we're going to mark from the 1 3/4 inch mark across to the 2.5 inch line, up to the 4-inch line and then diagonally. Once you've drawn your number 4 in, you'll cut that out and you're going to use that to draw around on your base cardstock to create your front and back panel. And another thing just to point out is if you're going to cut the template out of single-sided cardstock, remember that your two patterned sides, as it were, are going to be facing outwards. So one of the templates you're going to have to draw around so it's upside down, so that when the two pieces come together, your patterned paper is going to be facing outwards. Once you've cut your template out, you'll have two pieces which look like this, and we're now going to create our side panels. And we're going to create the side panels in 4 sections on this particular box. We're going to start with piece A, which is going to come down, down, across, and down to here. Piece B is going to come across, up, and up. And piece C will be the opening, and then piece D is going to come into the middle. The first thing that I would say is if you don't want to cut longer pieces, these are quite a good way of using up scraps. Determine the width of your box that you want. For instance, if you want a box which is 1 inch wide, your strips, no matter how long they are, will all be 2 inches wide, which will give you a 1/2 inch glue tab, the 1 inch width of your box, and then a 1/2 inch glue tab. So you may, for instance, rather than creating a longer strip for A, you may want to cut one piece which is 5 5/8 of an inch long, plus 1/2 an inch for a glue tab, and cut that times your width to create one piece just for this one panel. And as I mentioned in box number 2, you can change the position of your opening to suit your needs and just adjust the length of the longer strips accordingly. Before we cut our strips out, I would recommend that you use this template as a guide and measure the length of the sides on the 4 front and back panels that you've cut out, because all of the strips that I'm going to give you are based on the measurements of my template. So if, for instance, you measure along and this side, because of the way you've cut it or scored it, is 1.5 plus a 16th, for instance, you'll need to adjust the length of your strips accordingly to accommodate your extra elements where you may have them. I'm going to leave this on the screen so that you can see the various measurements we're going to put in place. The width of my box is going to be 2 inches, therefore my cardstock is 3 inches wide and I'm scoring at 1/2 inch and 2.5 inches. The length of strip A is 10 5/8 of an inch, and we're going to score at 5 5/8, 7 1/8 and 9 5/8. Strip B, again 3 inches wide, scored at 1/2 and 2.5. This is 10.5 inches long, scored at 1/2, 2, 3, 3.5, 5 and 5.5. Strip C, which is the opening, again this is 3 inches wide, scored at 1/2 and 2.5. This is 2.5 inches long and it's scored at 1/2 and 2. Finally, strip D, which is the internal section, 3 inches wide again, scored at 1/2 and 2.5. This is 4.5 inches long, scored at 1.5, 3 1/4 and 4. For each of the strips, your left and right score lines here, you can obviously fold in one direction. In terms of the remaining score lines, what you may want to do is take your template, so this is piece A, and you may want to fold and burnish your score lines in the direction that they're going to be on the box. For instance, this first score line here at 5 5/8 would be a mountain fold. So that's going to come down there. The next one is going to be a mountain fold. So that's going to come down there. And then the next one is going to be a valley fold. That's going to be this score line here. That is going to come down like so. So as you work your way around the box, you may want to start to form your pieces in the direction that they're going to be in. We're now going to cut our strips. This is strip A. On each strip, we're going to cut up the score lines within the 1/2 inch glue tab. And then we're going to take a wedge from each section. So each strip will have a section of glue tabs. In addition to piece A, what you may want to do is add a finger notch into this long 5 5/8 of an inch end, like so. Piece B, at the end on the 1/2 inch strip, remove the bottom left and right hand squares. This is going to be our glue tab to attach our strips together. Just take a wedge from the end. So this will be piece B, and again this will have all the glue tabs cut along the side as we did with strip A. On piece C, which is the opening, make sure that you've got your piece so that your long side is towards you, because I've already cut this once incorrectly. We're going to start by cutting away all 4 corners. Again, check the orientation of your piece. You want it long side in front of you. This piece here is going to be the hinge. This is going to be attached to the box. So I'm going to take a wedge from there. This piece here is going to be the flap that's going to sit down on the inside of the box. My personal preference is to round off the corners of those. These 2 pieces are going to sit down inside the box. I'm going to take a very slight wedge off of the ends, the same side as the hinge. And at the moment, I'm going to leave the other side, the front ones, to see how much I need to cut off so that the piece can go down inside the box. And then finally, piece D, we will fold and burnish along our long score lines. Cut up each of the score lines within the 1/2 inch tab to create our glue tabs. And then the 1/2 inch section at the end, this is going to be our glue tab. Again, remove the bottom left and right hand corners, take a wedge from the ends to create your glue tab. So that will be piece D. Now it's a case of adding our strips into place. I'm going to start from this corner here because I can always trim off the top of this end if I need to. But theoretically, our pieces, if we've measured everything and cut everything properly, our pieces should fit into place quite neatly and easily. So just take your time. Obviously, we're cutting the pieces of cardstock with scissors. It's not an electronic die cutting machine, so there is always room for a little bit of error. And sometimes it's only a hair's width. So that's our first side in place. So just work your way around. You can flex the side panels around. So I can now work my way into this section. I'm going to leave this one unglued. I'm just going to move that completely out of the way for the moment. I'm going to glue strip B on to strip A. Now that's joined, I can add in the rest of strip A. Now we can continue around. I'm going to add glue onto these 2 tabs at the same time and work these 2 at the same time. We can now stick in our flap section. Again, make sure you add glue to your hinge. So that is going to sit in there like so. And now we can take piece D. I'm going to add glue onto all of the tabs at the same time because otherwise you can't access all of the glue tabs. I want to add glue to the inside of the glue tab. So I'm going to sit that in, work quickly. If you've got construction glue, you might want to use that for this bit. So you've got a little bit more wiggle room. That's going to come round. That's going to come round, and that's going to come over there. So I'm just going to flip it over. So I'm quite happy with how that looks on the inside. And now put your number into shape, and I'm going to just add glue onto the glue tabs where another glue tab will go over the top, which is going to help put it into shape at the same time. So particularly these bits here. Then I'm going to use my construction glue, which is going to give me more time to work. Add glue onto all of the glue tabs. Take my second number 4 and slowly work my way around, manipulating everything into shape. Once everything's dry, I can come to my top opening and I can see how much I need to cut off to shape these for them to fit inside the box. So I'm going to just take, and now that slots down into the top of the box like so. Now our box has come together, you'll note because of the number, the only support is this section here, and the box is going to tip over. I did create an additional support which I will leave in the video and show you now, but I will just say that I found that once I'd added some weight into the box, it did actually stand up on its own. So you might want to check that, and if the box is falling over, you may then want to add the support yourself. To stop the box from falling over, I've created a little support out of acetate. This is 2 inches long and it's only 1/2 inch wide, and I've scored at 1/2 inch either end. So this has left me with this 1 inch section in the middle, which is equal to the length of this piece here. I've folded it into this C shape. and just used red liner tape to stick it near the back, and it just supports this front edge of the box. Because it's acetate, it's not overly visible from the front. So the mat layer is cut from a piece which is 4 1/4 by 7 1/4. Along the 4 1/4 inch side, you'll draw from top to bottom at 2 1/2 and 3 3/4. Along the long side, you'll make a line from top to bottom at 1, 2 1/4 and 4 3/8. And along the 2 1/4 inch side, you'll mark at 1 3/8. And then you will, as we did with our first piece, join up to create your mat layer for your piece. Here's the patterned paper on the top of the box. So you can see the box is the same proportions as the two that was made. You don't need to make yours the same width as mine. You can change up the width. And indeed, with the measurements that we've used for the initial template, it's not too tricky to scale up or scale down the size of the box. And as I said, you could choose where you have the opening on the box. You don't need to have it on the top as I've done. I have been requested to make a 1, a 3 and an 8, so they will be coming shortly. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.